I think I'm pretty prone to hyperbole, but I don't think I'm being hyperbolic when I tell you that pretty much all of the matches I've played in World of Warships Legends this week have been utterly terrible. Mostly because they've all been blowouts that end far too quickly and aren't interesting enough to put on YouTube. This game, however, in the Zhao, I think is fairly worth watching. It's going to be a pretty short one and it's going to be decided rather quickly. But it's not going to be a traditional kind of blowout. There is going to be a chance for either team to really take victory. And I think our actions in this battle are going to go a long way to securing victory for the blue team. We're playing the legendary tier IJN cruiser, the Zhao. I finally completed the Bureau project a week or two ago after months and months of completely ignoring it. And I thought, well, we'll take out the Zhao because it's a good HE spamming cruiser that kind of has a relaxing playstyle. Basically, what you want to do in the Zhao is kite. And so you'll see a lot of that in this battle today. In fact, this is going to be a textbook example of a good time to kite in a cruiser. And when you're playing a cruiser, I'm not going to claim to be an expert in the cruiser class. I think I enjoy playing destroyers and battleships, generally speaking, more than I enjoy playing cruisers. But if you are going to play the cruiser class, especially a cruiser like this, the Zhao, which has got a lot of firepower and decent armor, but not enough armor to stand up to sustain focused fire, there's a couple of things to keep in mind. Now, of course, we've got the Shimakaze out here in front of us, spotting the Gdansk, among other things. We're going to shoot at the Gdansk, do a ton of damage to him with the ultra-accurate HE firepower of the Zhao. Gdansk is revealed once more by the radar of, I think, the friendly Alaska, or maybe the friendly Brisbane that are pushing up next to us. And I want you to take note of their positions on the minimap as well as the rest of the blue team. The Alaska and the Brisbane are on the other side of this island that we're reversing toward. This island is offering us protection because we can see there are two enemy battleships approaching this side of the map from the center of their cap on the other end. And well, once we see that those two battleships are approaching, if we're in a cruiser, what we don't want to do is go in front of this island right next to us so that it limits our avenues of escape. Both the Brisbane and the Alaska are pushing out quite aggressively into the enemy Brisbane in the two battleships, and predictably, the friendly Brisbane is one of the first ships to sink in the game. The Alaska, on the other hand, seems to have realized his error, but it's too little too late. It seems like he's trying to turn around and disengage, maybe get behind the other island over there, but he just gives broadside to the Musashi, the Navarin, and the Brisbane, and also goes down. And just like that, with the friendly Shimakaze also having been sunk, this flank is completely toast. Now, what we could do is push in ourselves and also join our teammates in going back to port. But if we take a look at the other side of the minimap, we'll note that we've got a destroyer, a cruiser, and two battleships over there versus what appears to be one destroyer, one cruiser, and one battleship on the red team. So we've got a numbers advantage on the other flank, and what we've got to do is trust that our teammates are going to be able to take advantage of that numbers advantage, win the flank, and then push into the enemy base. That's a textbook example of something that can happen in this game on Capture the Base mode, which I know is everybody's favorite mode. But on the other side of the map, we've got Musashi, Navarin, Brisbane, and probably some other cruiser pushing in. And we in our Zhao, along with the friendly destroyer that is dutifully guarding the blue cap, are the only things standing between this red push and entering our base. Meanwhile, on the other side of the map, our friendly teammates there are cleaning up. They've eliminated the destroyer, they've eliminated the cruiser, and now all that stands between them and the enemy base was one Montana, but he's just gone down too. So their path to the base is clear. They've got the last remaining enemy destroyer headed in their direction. So as long as we're able to stay alive here and deal damage to the Navarin and the Musashi as they push in to soften them up, well then we've got a good chance of winning. We've got torpedoes headed toward the Musashi and Navarin. Of course, they all miss, and it's difficult to get these torpedoes on target in the Zhao. It's got probably some of the worst torpedo firing angles in the entire game. I think even the Mogami and the Ibuki might have better angles than this, but it's fine. We can go dark. Our concealment is pretty good at 10.3 kilometers, and even though the torpedoes on the one side missed, we've got torpedoes on the other side. We just don't want to launch them while we're spotted, otherwise we're liable to be sent back to port immediately. Now, we're predicting that both enemy battleships are going to make a beeline for the cap. That's exactly what they're doing. So we launch the torpedoes in such a way to account for that, and we can return to shooting at them with the main battery guns, which will do a lot of damage and start a lot of fires. We're barely 5 minutes into this match, 6 minutes more like, and we've already got 10 fires lit, if that's enough to tell you anything. I can't remember the commander build I was using on this. I was testing out Mikawa. I think this was Mikawa, actually. Mikawa and Haguro. So this is nothing being put extra into the Zhao's guns. They're just this good base without any modifications at all since we're using Mikawa. The torpedo prediction looks like it's going to yield results. Musashi's going fairly fast, but I think he's still going to be caught before he makes it around that island by at least 2 of the torpedoes, and they are IJN torpedoes. They do a lot of damage, and it's not like the Musashi has the greatest torpedo damage reduction in the universe. We're over 100,000 damage done now. Musashi is on fire and flooding, so he is going to go down for our first kill of the game. That leaves just the Navarin, and then there's some cruiser behind us as well. I think it's the Brisbane, who is intermittently firing at us with HE, but he's not doing a ton of damage. We've also got an enemy destroyer inside of the base, but take a look at the blue team. They're very close to getting to the red base, and there's only one cruiser in there. The enemy Shimakaze is spotted. I don't think we're actually going to hit him, but thanks to the efforts of the friendly destroyer there, he's going to go down. I think it's the Montana that sinks him, but it was probably the friendly destroyer that spotted him. So GG's to the Vampire 2. Navarin is pushing in. Oh, that's a Hindenburg. Somebody spent a little bit of money. And now we're going to hit the map border and do what Spartan Elite 43 always like to call the T-Bowl Shuffle. It's not my favorite thing to do. It just sometimes happens when you run out of room to kite. But I think throughout the duration of this battle, we did the right thing. We recognized that we were on the weak flank of the friendly team, and we put ourselves in the prime position to impede the enemy push by dealing a lot of damage to them. We have the high caliber metal now and the Witherer, thanks to all the fire damage and torpedo flooding damage we've done. Navarin goes down for our second kill of the game and gets us the Arsonist medal. And so that just leaves the Hindenburg and whatever enemy cruiser is up near their base. Highly unlikely that the red team is going to win now, so this has turned into a blowout, but early on, it didn't necessarily look like it would. I think part of the reason that it is such a blowout is because of the enemy battleship positioning. I think the worst thing you could possibly do in a battleship is put them right next to each other in the same grid square and simply push into a cruiser. In fact, you don't want to push into the Zhao. It's not going to be good for you. The Zhao specializes in demolishing things that push into it, and the Hindenburg is next on the list. There it goes. That ends the game. We actually get the Dreadnought medal, weirdly enough, to go with our high caliber, our Witherer, and our Arsonist medal. I suppose we tanked a little bit of damage there, I guess, and we end up on the top of the leaderboard, along with the friendly Montana, who also had a good game himself. The rest of the enemy team, not a lot of XP, but this is pretty indicative of what I've seen over the entire last week. It wasn't a close game by any stretch of the imagination, but it was the closest game I've had in a long time. Well, not in a long time, but this week. Hope you enjoyed it. If so, give it a thumbs up, consider subscribing if you haven't already, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye.